Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Maxine. I have Avoidant Personality Disorder and ADHD. And today I want to talk about having Avoidant Personality Disorder or severe social anxiety and the paradox that is social media to us. I think this is true. I think sort of the basis of this issue is true for everybody. I just think it hits those of us with this type of mental disorder even harder because of our social inability and our isolation. So I'm going to start with the negative stuff so that we can end on a good note. So the one thing, the main criticism that I think most people see and feel towards social media is the fact that we are comparing our lives, our real lives, the entirety of our lives, to these small, curated snippets of other people's lives. And of course, we're all sort of presenting our best versions of our lives on social media. So that's what we're comparing our lives to. And I feel like that's a very talked about issue. But one thing that I haven't seen people talking about so much that has really, really been affecting me lately is how in seemingly every single comment section on every platform, on every post, it seems like, we'll have at least a handful of comments that are just unnecessarily cruel or rude or dismissive or just mean in a way that doesn't even pertain to the subject matter of the post in the first place. Literal bullying, calling people fat, calling women stupid, calling men gay, no matter what it is, there's going to be Wednesday, please stop. No matter what it is, there's always going to be some ridiculously negative comment. And of course, on some posts that's warranted if it's a crappy post. But most of the time, it's just like a regular person going about their regular life, trying to connect with other people the way that we all are. And people just projecting their insecurities in those comment sections. And of course, me having the perspective to know that they're projecting does not make it any easier for me to see those and digest those comments. I'm instantly enraged when I see them. I want to argue with them. Sometimes I do engage, and then that just, it just stresses me out more, honestly. But the thing that I've noticed that has really affected me about that is that now I find myself, as I'm scrolling, every post that I come across, I'm thinking in my mind, kind of trying to prepare myself for what awful comments I'm going to see, right? So on any given post, it's like my mind is automatically anticipating what people are going to be picking apart in any given scenario. And what that does is it trains your brain to literally think of the most outrageously negative thing it can think of in response to anything that's happening in your life. And I have always had a very negative, cruel inner monologue as it is. And I feel like this has just made it worse. It's like witnessing literal bullying all the time, just constantly. And even if it's not directed towards me, it's conditioning me to think more negatively, to try to prepare myself for these negative people. And that's really, really sad. It's really sad. I think what it shows about us as a society is that we're all like miserable. And we're normalizing lashing out because we're miserable. And that's really sad. So on the one hand, that is a very, very incredibly toxic side effect of social media. And TikTok was where I first noticed it, and I got off of TikTok. So then I ended up replacing TikTok with Instagram, and Instagram is worse. I don't know how, but somehow I think Instagram is worse. So I'm like mostly off of Instagram now, but every once in a while I find myself checking it and then immediately getting sucked into arguing with like mean people. And that's not good for me. On the other hand, of course, the thing that social media was made for was to connect with people. I think originally it was probably intended for staying in touch with people at, when you move or you leave school or you leave a job or whatever, you can stay in touch with people that otherwise you probably wouldn't have. And, I think it was also probably invented with like business networking in mind. So making connections. And for me, I found it doesn't help that much in staying in touch with people. If I'm falling out of touch with somebody, if I'm not around them all the time and we didn't have a really, really, really strong relationship, then I'm not going to stay in touch with somebody just because they were kind of friends as a byproduct of like the job or whatever. But of course, it opens up this world of opportunity to connect and build a community with people that you never ever would have gotten the opportunity to do that with before. And is social media and the internet to blame for the lack of community that we now have in our real lives? Maybe. But I don't know that I would have, I don't know that I would be like brave enough to go out and join the local communities if there were plenty of them anyway. And it really comes down to finding like-minded people, because maybe I'm wrong about this, but I just can't imagine there are that many people in my town. I mean, I live in a big town now, but I grew up in very, very small towns. So how many people in any given town have the same issues, the same interests, the same values that you have? Sometimes it's not very many, and if they're out there, they're difficult to find. And when you have a disorder that is literally disabling you from going out into the world and finding those people in real life, then the internet and social media gives us a platform to connect with people in a way that we never would have without it. And to me, that is very precious. Of course, we have this little community here that over the course of just a few weeks is changing my life and inspiring me to do things that did not feel possible or weren't even on my radar before, to be honest. Because having the chance to connect with people that understand me is like invaluable. So it's definitely a double-edged sword, as most things are. But I think it's important for us to responsibly curate our social media experience, basically. That's what I'm learning about myself. The aimless scrolling does nothing for me, but make me feel worse. But if I use social media as a tool, then it can be incredible. And it's sort of the same with just the internet at large and the access to information that we have now that we didn't have before. Of course, some people will criticize those of us that have explored self-diagnosis at any given point, or and that's a valid critique, because there are definitely issues that can arise from doing that and the overwhelming amount of information that we have access to. But also think about what all of the people before us that did not have the access to this information, or like a psychiatrist, which they haven't even always had all the access to the information that we have now. They just had to go through their life thinking that there was something inherently wrong with them, or, having to invent religious purposes or religious reasons for things that have happened to them or the way that they are, and blame themselves because they didn't have the context to know that it's not their fault that they're like this. So yeah, of course, there's a good and a bad to everything, but I think at the end of the day, what I'm realizing is that we can use social media for good if we're intentional about it. So if you agree with what I'm saying, if any of this resonates with you, then I encourage you to, like me, start sort of paying more attention to what you're consuming online and try to build an algorithm or not a following, but what you're following. Try to build a social media that is a positive, inspiring, motivating experience for you, and not just an echo chamber of hate and despair. So that's it for this topic. If you aren't interested in a little personal update, then thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. If you are, I'm going to give you a little personal update on me. If you've been following, you know that I quit weed almost 2 weeks ago now. And I've quit before and had really bad physical symptoms, so I was really bracing myself for bad physical symptoms. And I didn't have it that bad. I have been very sweaty, and you're not going to be able to see, but I have had a dyshydrotic eczema flare-up, which is those itchy little bumps on your palms, if anybody ever gets that, from how sweaty my hands have been. So that's a little annoying. And it just itches so bad. But beyond that, and a little bit of tummy trouble, the physical symptoms have not been that bad. I have had some really hard mental health days since, where I just really, really wished that I could turn my brain off. Yeah, I've had a few of those. I'm not gonna lie about that, where normally I would just get stoned and feel way, way, way better and not think about the way that I was feeling. all of a sudden all the animals are coming over and demanding attention. But today I feel fine. I think it's getting better overall. I'm still now primarily using food to self-regulate my emotions, which of course is also not a good habit. But I physically cannot eat as much as I could when I was smoking weed. I could just literally eat nonstop. And now I have a normal person appetite, so we're working on it. I think all the time I'm like, is it worth it? Is it better if I just use it to help me regulate my emotions? But I think I just feel that way because I don't like feeling negative emotions. So we're getting there. I'm also, I don't know, I applied for a single job. One of you guys in my unemployment video, one of you guys mentioned working at a bookstore, and I was like, that sounds like such an amazing idea. So I did apply for a job at a at a bookstore here in town. But I haven't heard anything, so I don't know. But yeah, overall, I've just been focused on not smoking. Ooh, excuse me. And been successful so far. And I'm not going to give up yet. And maybe in the next video, I'll talk about some of the other things that I'm going to be doing to take another step forward to try to getting better. So thanks for watching. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.